Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Northern California Gardening Channel, where gardening is made easy. So, what you're seeing in front of me is this is a red globe grapes plant, and so it's winter now and dormant season, and we are going to go prune this plant. So, let's go and look into some tips before we start pruning this. Hello everyone. So let's look into the basic tips on how to do the grape plant pruning. So this is a red globe grape is what you saw today, and it not only applies to the red globe grape, but in general, I'm going to talk about the pruning techniques for the grape plant. So before we need to first understand the basics of the structure of the grape plant before we understand about the pruning. So there are two types of pruning, right? Crane pruning and then the spur pruning. So need to understand the basics of how the grape plant is structured. Okay, so I'm going to use this marker to point out. So that's kind of nicely visible. So this is the trunk actually. This area, what you see here is the trunk of the plant, right? And so this is much more established. If you really look at it, it'll be like dark brown that is coming from the bottom of the plant, and then you have a cordon, right? So this is what they call it as cordon, right? So the cordon is basically horizontally it's basically structured horizontally to the ground, right? So that's basically called as cordon, and you see the growth here which is coming up like this. So these are basically called as spurs, right? So this is basically called spurs, and so actually this spurs, right? So they will have something called nodes. These are the nodes actually. These are the nodes for the spurs, and then you see this is the bud. This one you see the little one actually bud. So these are the buds which are going to start growing the next season, right? So now in terms of the cane pruning, what they do is they take this, they basically prune it right over here, and it's basically done in some of the cold countries, pretty cold places, the crane pruning, and they take this spurs, and then it kind of becomes cordon, and it kind of starts growing from there, right? So this is the basics of the crane pruning, what is being done. So in our case, we are going to be looking at the spur pruning technique. So spur pruning is very similar to the structure is again structure doesn't change, right? So we have the trunk here, and then we have a cordon, and then we do have these nodes, right? We do have these nodes, and then these are the buds. So in case of spur pruning, the way to kind of structure it is, so you have these cordons. These cordon, there are spurs that are coming up. So you take these spurs, and then you basically leave one bud. It's actually there's one more bud here, so there are two buds. So after two buds, right? After the first node, you basically do the pruning over here, right? So that's basically what you do. So what happens is, these spurs or whatever canes or whatever. So these canes are developed just last year, right? So you have to look for those canes and healthy canes and then prune it. So what happens is, there will be a good growth from these buds, and in the season you'll get some good grapes. So what will happen if you kind of let it this way? So each of these, right, there is going to be a growth, and you're going to get grapes which are not going to be really sweet, right? So in order to make sweet grapes, you need to kind of prune it over here and look for those healthy spurs and kind of prune it, and so that you can get a good growth on this. All right. So now let's go back and then look at what are the key pruning techniques that we need to do, or basic tips in spur pruning. We'll focus on spur pruning, and which is the kind of the most method that most of the gardeners use. So first is so make sure that you are picking a dormant season. This is very important. Basically, January is again a good time. January, till second or third week of January. So now it's January, third week of January. So this is a good season to pick it up, and make sure that you're doing the sharp, 45-degree cuts, which is very important. Take a sharp pruners and make a 45-degree cut. And most of the viewers who are following me, they know that we need to do this sharp cuts, 45 degrees, because if water or something falls, it won't go inside the branch and it will kind of fall off, right? So that's an important thing. And remove the diseased branch, right? So if you see really a twig which is really kind of old, and then it's the diseased or whatever, just definitely get rid of it. You don't have to really wait until the pruning season for this. You can remove it at any time. So why do you prune it, right? So the question is, why do you want to prune it? So if you want to really have a good yield next season and then healthy and sweet fruiting, the pruning technique is very important, right? So that's kind of the key reason why you're pruning the grape plants. And look for strongest cane. So when I do the spur pruning, I will show you if there are any branches, multiple canes, and always look for the strongest one actually when you prune it, and because that's the one which is going to grow really nice. So that's another one. And so make sure that it won't rain, right? For the next few days it doesn't rain, because what happens if it rains again, that will impact the plant, right? So just wait for in the forecast, wait for a few days, it doesn't rain, and look for that time, right? So next few days is not going to rain, so this is the right time for me to prune it. So let's go, and I'll show you how to let's get started on the pruning now. All right, we are getting ready to prune, and so basically use one of the sharp pruners. So this is a small one, and then what I have here is a long pruner. So take one of these, and so make sure that your pruners are sharp. And if it's not sharp, actually, if you're doing too much pruning, if it's not sharp, make sure that you sharpen it. So you don't have to buy a new blade, a new pruners every time. So you can use one of these pruners. So this one I bought it from Amazon, and to an extent, actually, once you take the blade out, once you're able to kind of unscrew this part and then take the blade out, you should be able to use this to sharpen it. So this is something that you can consider. And so the other technique also, again, if you have a tool, like a drilling tool or something, so you connect one of these like a stones there, and then you basically use this to kind of sharpen it, right? Sharpen the blades. So you got to be safe actually when you're doing this, and so you can basically take this and then you can sharpen the blades over here. So make sure that you wear safety glasses before you do any of those sharpening things, right? So, and yeah, so now let's get to pruning, and so you know what to do. Before we do the pruning, we need to make sure that we use hydrogen peroxide and disinfect the blades. So before using any trees, it's very important to do that. Okay, now we've cleaned it. So use a hydrogen peroxide and clean piece of cloth to kind of clean the blades. And whenever you do a tree, and then if you go to another tree, it's better to do this because you don't want to carry the infection from one tree another tree. So always do this. So now ready to prune. So just wear a nice pair of gloves as well as get a glasses. Just safety important. All right, we are ready to prune the red globe grapes. One, so this is the trunk actually, as you see here. This is the trunk which kind of goes, and if you look at it here, it becomes a cordon. So it kind of branches out of the cordon. So this is the horizontal one, which becomes a cordon, and these are the spurs that I was talking about. This is a spur, this is a spur, and if you look at the spur, right? So this one is a weak one, this is a strong spur, and this is a bud here that you're seeing, and second bud, and in spur pruning we have to cut it here, and this is a strong one. So one more point I wanted to bring up here is so this one is like a 2-year old, right? So see the wood here, which is kind of slightly dark brown, and this one is like a light brownish color, and this is the spur, and this is the where you're going to get the growth next year. This is where you're going to start having the grapes coming here, and you need to be looking at these spurs which has grown at least 1 year or more. So these are 2 years, and the trunk, what you see here, it's probably around 2 to 3 years, right? So which is kind of really dark brown. So that's kind of the structure. So what I'm going to do now is I've already got rid of this one on the bottom. There is another branch here. I got rid of it, and I'm also going to get rid of this one right here. Get rid of this, and then the small branches here, I'm going to get rid of it.
So I'm also going to get rid of this one right here. I'm going to get rid of this. And so starting from here, I'm going to let it grow. So this one I wanted it to grow. I will get rid of this. Get rid of this, and then this is a small one. I'm going to get rid of it. See this one and this one, right? So if you look at it, this spur is a strong one, and this is a weak one. So I'm going to keep this, and I'm going to keep two buds, and two buds, and I'm going to prune it right over here. And this one I'm going to get rid of it. And so here I have. So again, I'm going to get rid of this one right here. Get rid of this one, and so this one is good. So I'm going to spur prune it right here, and so this is too weak. So I'm going to get rid of this. And so out of these two, probably going to keep that one right there. And so this one is coming this side, and it doesn't have any place to grow, so I won't be able to bend it. So I'm going to get rid of this one also. All right. So I'm going to get this spur also. I'm going to chop it off here. This one I left it. I'm going to prune it till here. And so this one growing pretty big. So I'm going to prune it right here. Get rid of this. And so this one is okay. This one I'm going to cut it right here because it's very close to the other one. So I'm going to cut it. And right here, I'm going to cut it right here. So it's going to start growing. And over here, so this is again, it's a spur which is coming on this. So I'm going to cut it right here. This one I'm going to get rid of it. The small one's a weak one. So this is another weak one actually. So I'm going to get rid of it. This one also I'm going to get rid of. I'm going to just leave this one actually. It might come. So it's got enough space between. So this one, I'm going to cut it right here. And this is the last one. I'm not going to do anything. It might grow next year. Right, the pruning is done, and I did some cleanup. So if you look at it, so it kind of a nice trunk here. It comes till here, and then it becomes a cordon, and all these branches. I've kept basically two nodes, and two buds actually, and a node. And in these buds, I'm going to see nice leaf growth, and it's going to horizontally come. And there I did not prune it finally. I just wanted to have that kind of keep growing for next year. And so as simple as that, right? So that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you really like this video, please do click like and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you soon in another video, and stay tuned. And by the way, you can use each of these clippings, and you can have a separate plant on this. So that's probably in a different video. And talk to you later. Bye.